Good morning. I am higher vibrations and so are you. And wow, welcome to Mercury retrograde, huh? Lots of tech stuff going on. Um, there's also other things that we're experiencing right now. I just want to say this really quick and get this out of the way. So otherwise, I probably won't remember. Is that Venus is both the morning and the evening star right now, and so you're able to like see it at pre-dawn and also part of the dawn as well as at night, and so that's really a fascinating thing, as well as the solar impact is expected today in order to celebrate this equinox, in this rare equinox that is, it's rare because we have it's right in the middle of the corridor of eclipses. The eclipses don't typically fit right here in this little box, and so it's making this moment right now that much more profound. So
Very
pardon the
cool.
delay, start coming in a little bit late. I'm so excited to welcome my guest today. How are you, Yolanda Marie?
I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having me. I'm exhausted from the Mercury retrograde and the Venus retrograde and the eclipse, and I want to just feel everybody out and see how they feel too, because boy. How are
Yeah.
you doing?
Me, I'm feeling, I've been, I'm pretty good. Like, I feel pretty stabilized except for today, like
Mm,
this morning and like this afternoon, trying to get what, we needed to do to get to this show. It just seemed to be like a little bit more, farther out than it actually ended up being, time wise too. So
okay.
I literally only got here like a minute or two before we were supposed to start.
Me
Um,
too. I felt so bad. That's why I was like screaming when I came in. I was like, oh my gosh, thank you for being so patient.
it's all good. It's all good, really. Yeah. It's um also I'm getting a lot of, so can I just jump in? Let's just jump in.
Please.
Something
Yes.
crazy happened, not last night, but the night before. Every time I
Okay.
say words in that order, I always want to do that jump rope rhyme. 24 hours came knocking at your door. Anyway, um, something happened. There was a shift in the energy, and I was outside, kind of like
Oh,
just letting my
shit.
energy kind of flow off of me before I was going to go to bed. And
Yeah.
all of a sudden, I got that the gray room was closed, and like light shone into, so the gray room is like what some people would call limbo, or something that's not
Yes.
actually true exactly. That's where people go when they don't know that they're gone after
It's
they've
funny
passed.
because the word that came to me was like, and this isn't what you mean exactly, but purgatory. I don't know
Yeah,
why
yeah,
that
yeah.
came. Okay, so that resonates a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, that's a religious way of explaining it,
Okay.
and so that is the word that a lot of people know, but it's not. So
Mm-hmm.
what, I've been going there to do work for a while, since 2012 actually.
Oh
Um,
wow.
and found that my dad was there, and that's actually how I found out this place existed. And
Oh,
through, I don't know, that link, I was able to, it turns, there's a lot of people there. The gray room, I call it the gray room because everything looks like this murky,
yeah.
smoky gray. They can't see, there's no senses.
Mm.
They can't see, feel, touch, taste. They can't sense a presence of another person there. And
Yeah.
there were like an uncountable amount of people there,
Wow.
all
Yeah.
holding on to something. A lot of them were like mothers who were feeling devoted to their children that they had left, but their children who they were still devoted to had already passed away. They've been there
Okay.
that long, that kind of stuff.
They
Well,
couldn't feel into it.
it got disbanded. It was released. Like,
So did the soul? So everybody just got to. They were. Is out the word bright comes to mind because I just did a message for the equinox and the. For some reason, the word bright the Arcturians are using, like people are having the light, their
yeah,
eyes open, and they can see where to go now. This
yeah,
seems very connected because that's exactly what right before I came on. That's what I was doing was, recording a message
that's so
with
cool.
that in it.
That's it. That's exactly
That's
what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So what was the
Wow.
message? Do you want to give us a sneak peek?
Wow. Oh, well, I mean, it's definitely not to do with this purgatory gray room, although I do have more that I want to say about that. Wow, because it actually reminds me of there were a lot of souls like when I first woke up to everything. So now I'm going off. Listen, okay, I'm going to go up on this temporary tangent, but then I'm coming back.
Do
Hang on. So when I first started awakening to the galactic presence, right? Because I was in and out. I don't know if a lot of people know like my story, whatever that means, right? But the history of it. But I was in and out of awakening for years and years and years and years, like a lot of us. So anyway, this I like to call it, I guess, the final like shove when I was aware that the galactic presence I sensed in childhood was not a fantasy. Like I had it confirmed, if that makes sense, of course, right? And all that was going on. Well, my mother's also gone, as you might remember too. And I wanted to know where she was. And there was a limbo. So the word I used then was
yeah.
limbo. And it is very similar to what you're saying, but I'm not certain because there are so many layers of consciousness, like layers of even, oh, they're saying within a dimension, but I don't want to get confusing. So because we each create from our own nexus point, there may be different versions of this. So it's from the perspective of the person. So long story short, I was probably coming through the perspective of my mother. Are you I know you're following what I'm saying though, but it's so confusing. I don't want to make it confusing. So it was like some sort of limbo, but to her it was the heaven, the original, the final destination sort of thing. But she was in her earth form. She had not, like that form hadn't connected to this higher consciousness, which I know, which is one of my guides, who is an intergalactic presence, you know, who understands everything, completely open, like what you're talking about, completely open, can fly free, you know, from her different aspects and completely understanding. These souls were just kind of in a holding pattern. It was more like a holding pattern. Wow, so that's what I thought of when you said that instantly, and then the word purgatory came. But purgatory is not the what that word references. That's not the feeling I got when I went to
Exactly.
this limbo. You know what I mean? So that's why I wanted to say it's so different. It's
Yeah.
so different. It's through the person's perspective,
Yeah.
which is super trippy.
It is.
So yeah. Oh, the equinox. So see, I'm coming back. See, Pamela, I'm telling you. So
You're good.
okay. So today's equinox is more about a flushing, at least the collective that came to me, like what they needed to hear, because it's about a bunch of stuff, obviously, right? But
Mhm.
this is the true beginning. It's the true start. It's like a fresh start to the year. It's the actual beginning, right? Things are blooming. Things are, going to give birth. You know, it's this sort of energy. The snow has melted. Okay.
Right.
And so there's this flushing energy where things that are not part of you, like if, and that's such a weird way to put that because we are everything, right? There's so much to us. But in this perspective, with what we have lined up in this next stage, all right, what is like a false thing? What's not really part of your intention, but somebody else's projection, like that sort of thing. You know, things in your sphere that are not unique to or approved by you, you know, just to give more examples, right? And we're talking about your quantum field here. It's being disbanded. So that's why the flushing thing, this is so gross, but it's like, you know, it's like literally wanting to purge out of you, but it's not necessarily a physical purge, like
Right.
with ascension symptoms. You know what I'm saying? It's like a life purge. So
Right.
things might just start like walking, you know, right on out the door, or just things just sort of flying away. You don't know where they went. You're not worried about it.
Mhm.
And so, not to give too much more away, but I mean, you know, my messages are short anyway.
Right.
Um,
Right. Right.
but yeah, so I
But
hope that,
profound.
all right.
You have profound messages, and I just wanted to add that. So anybody that ever that wants to, please, and I encourage you, there's the link to Yolanda's channel in the description of this video. She's got some amazing, amazing messages. I like that they're short and succinct because they're real, but they're real condensed. I mean, there's a lot in there. You channel the Arcturians, and oh, wow. Okay, check this out. Donna Terra said someone else had said the same thing. Look at that. Patricia Coda
Okay.
Robles just said that
See
the
that?
dark astral realm has been cleared after the souls were told they were trapped and shouldn't be there, and guided by the light out of there. Exactly.
See that? That's beautiful. Oh my God. Don't you love synchronicity and how you're all working together? You may have literally been working with Patricia Coate Robles, just before you awaken to that conscious memory. Oh my gosh. Am I the only one that can't talk?
Oh
Mercury
no, me too.
retrograde.
So bad.
It's going to be okay. We're all going to survive this. Oh my Lord.
I had someone ask me if I was drunk. You know how long it's been since I've had alcohol, if any, or anything like that? But yeah, I was just like, no, this is just, I'm trying to talk.
You're just trying to get this mental processing lined up with all the information that wants to come through so fast. I mean, I know I literally am feeling it in my body right now. It's like for one, I'm excited to see you. But then I'm also like irritated with all the electronic malfunctioning, the weird snafu things that keep happening, and my body acting crazy. Listen, and I'm never one that talks about the symptoms, but you guys, I have not slept a normal night's sleep. I don't know what I'm trying to remember when I had just a night, just laid down, and 6 hours later woke up and was cool,
Yep.
Yeah. It hasn't happened in a little while. So I'm a little bit like needing to sleep, not because I meditate all the time, but actual sleep would be nice.
Yeah. No, I feel kind of spun out is how I call it. Like just because of that, where I'm exhausted a lot of the day, and then when it's finally time to go to bed, then all of a sudden all the activity and activations and downloads are starting to come in. And it's like,
yes,
well, now I'm awake all the
right
way
at the last minute. Yep.
Yeah. Exactly. It's crazy. There's and then we know we're in this window. This month, they've been saying for a while, this month is a lot like Lionsgate. And I feel like that makes so much sense to me because what's Lionsgate? I mean, apart from like how it's caused and everything, is that all of the light and energy that you need, that is needed in order to heal or to resolve trauma, is all presented. And that's why we get what seems kind of like flashbacks, like PTSD style flashbacks, because all of the things that are ready to be healed pop up and say, pick me, pick me, pick me. Well, that's happened this month. And then on top of it, now we're in this corridor of corridors, and there's so much happening here. There's a Neptune Kazemi happening, and there's a couple other
That's
Kazemi.
another thing. Yeah. You have to figure out which degree. Oh, I need to like silence my phone. I hope nobody heard my phone just go off.
Nope.
But anyway, I think you're supposed to, if you have like a Neptune in the first or second degree of Aries, or it's something very specific. I am not an astrologer, and most of you know that, but I just want to pinpoint that again so you don't let me confuse you by trying to remember things like degrees, okay? But it's something like that. Somebody might mention it. I'm looking in the messages there, but I don't see it yet. But yeah, someone's gonna know. But there's some specific little thing where it's going to affect you. Otherwise, the Neptune thing won't affect you. I ran into that by happenstance today. Is that a word? Happenstance? Who knows?
That's correct.
It is.
It is now, but I think it's a word. I use it.
But you know what? When you were talking about this eclipse corridor, it's a blink. It's like a blinking. I don't know where these words are coming from, but it's like there's so much information coming in at high speed, high voltage right now, like lightning, you guys, like lightning. And so your field is so operational. I'm feeling all of you. I'm feeling so much energy. I don't know how many people are actually here, but we know that doesn't matter. This is non-local through space and time. Whoever's going to show up, their energy is here. And I mean, oh my goodness, the electricity running through the people in this stream, this feed, whatever you want to call it, right? This cluster.
Yeah.
So the the fields are like optimal. It's optimal performance. In other words, you're bringing in information, you're translating the information faster than you ever have, whether you realize it or not, including people who are just waking up now, which is freaky because, you wake up on different levels. You wake up to the mess that's in the actual physical world, which I have my foot in kind of not really in two worlds, but I have a little minor focus. If I don't even know if you can call it focus, but it's just because a lot of newly awakening people, which this makes sense, this is completely reasonable, are looking at what just happened in politics and what is going on in the world. There are so many things happening, and there's a huge monumental shift happening with systems in the world. And it is not being heralded in with the compassion necessary to make sense to people who are trying to come into a heart awakening. Think about it this way: if you're just waking up, not if you've already been here, but say you literally just had a Kundalini awakening and you're seeing the bright colors. For those of you that know, okay, everything is in, I'm going to call it Technicolor. And then you try to make sense of the politics, but you're being told, which is also true, that it's all going to be okay. And all of that is true. All of that's true. That is hella confusing, super freaking confusing. Is that an actual curse word? Because I know we're trying to be careful on YouTube.
I'm never careful.
Are you not careful? All right.
Yeah.
I'm not going to worry about it. I don't think it is, but I mean, I just think of Cartman from South Park. Anyway, never mind. It's very confusing. So, so all these weird nuances are happening. Everything's going to be okay. So, in part because of that, I got my eyeballs, unfortunately, on politics, which is not my favorite tree to climb. Okay, and I'm being very nice by putting it that way. Like, I really do not want to be at all looking at any of that at all.
It's right in our face, though. I mean, I'm the same.
Yeah.
I feel like it's, I literally, this literally happened to me. I go outside a lot. I'm one of those people that I feel like when I'm indoors, I feel like I'm in a box. And I'm always trying to leave the box. I think it's because I wasn't allowed to leave the box for a lot of years when I was younger.
Okay.
But anyway, so I was outside, and how I start my morning is I bring my tea or coffee, whatever I'm drinking, and I sit outside on the porch, and I just kind of like sit in the sun and enjoy the day. And my neighbor, she knows that I don't do news at all. She literally came over and put her phone right in front of my face.
Oh no.
Like right in front of my face. Like, look what's happening. And it's like,
oh my God.
I've been getting people panic shouting the news at me lately, and it's like, if you tell them I don't watch the news, they're like, well, I got to catch you up in 15 seconds of the past 15 years. It's like,
No. Listen, unless it's something that, and you will know, and for sure you, Pamela, definitely will know if you're supposed to be, you know what I mean? If you're supposed to focus on it, you will focus on it. Like, not everybody is supposed to be paying attention to this. It's crazy making. Like, it's not a good idea.
It's everywhere. It's everywhere. But some of the stuff that is happening politically really is coming in for me in ways that I'm like, I'm not going, oh, I'm investing in it, but I'm like, this is really, I'm seeing some of the vague recollection of the images that I saw back in like 2009 that were supposed to happen for this time frame.
Wow.
So here's the thing. I'm just going to say this part, and then I'm going to go back to you. So I was given a lot of different stuff. I had a near-death experience, my first near-death experience when I was 4. And from that point, they started to talk to me. I started to that was when I could start to see those who had passed and communicate with the loved ones and stuff like that.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
and they started to talk to me by age. So instead of saying in the year, this, they'll say how old I'm going to be because I was 4
Okay.
when they started, right?
Yeah.
And so the two most important years of the awakening were 44 and 46. I'm going to be 46 in 7 days.
What?
Yeah.
Okay,
And
so
so we're
now I'm going to be paying attention. Oh my
yeah.
goodness. Whew.
So it's started. We're really here, guys.
We're here. We're in it. It is happening in real time.
Yeah.
And if we are, and we are there's no such thing as luck. I was going to say the lucky ones, but that's not a thing. But we are able to walk and chew gum. So, you've heard me say that before. It's just we're able to, if we need to, see what's going on and understand it for whatever reason that needs to be, but also see the bigger picture and still be able to see that technicolor,
Yeah.
still be able to stay tuned into our hearts and see the whole, the many, and not the few, like all of the stuff, all of the big, the main points. So, but yeah, we're definitely in it. It feels like a blur.
Yeah. Yeah.
It, yeah.
It does. I feel like we're kind of starting to, like, how you say, okay, now I'm awake. Now I'm awake. Because there's so many phases
We
of
keep,
awakening,
yes, we keep
right?
going, and we're still going to keep going. Like,
Hmm.
I mean, I've seen, I tend to ask questions about, will I see it in my lifetime? I'll phrase it that way to get an
Yeah.
idea, like what's going to happen here. And I don't even know how far I should go. And these things are subject to change according to the collective co-creation. But a big, like the solar event, I'm still getting that there will be an actual, like a bigger solar event that will happen in, like, before I decide to leave,
Mhm.
you know? So, or like, as you would say, permanently, right? Because we're always going through that little puppy too. It's these
Right.
experiences where we think that's it and it's not it, right? But yeah, and then you've got the perspectives on the worlds and how that's going to shape up. Maybe not physical worlds, but two different, like vastly different experiences of
Yeah.
what this shift is. So there's that whole thing. And we're watching it. We're actually watching the pull apart. It's like the pull apart is happening right now. Yeah, so it's really frustrating if you do have to have one foot here and one foot there. Because if you're not careful, it's almost like you feel like you're going to do a split, okay? Because
Yeah.
just get,
Yeah.
but because things really are moving at such a rate and so far apart in either direction. But there will be a meeting in the middle. There's going to be a slowdown of this pendulum where things balance.
Yeah.
And it's going to be in a collective way, but even then, it's going to be about perspective. It's going to be about your frequency, especially because now we're able to handle the frequencies in a different way. We can use them in a different way, in a more conscious way.
Yeah.
So the perspective is going to matter more than wherever you land physically, even because you will be able to shift that. And we already are shifting that almost at the drop of a hat at this point.
Right. Right.
Using that goes back to our fields working so much more optimally already, and that's only increasing. It feels almost like you could crack apart. I don't know, that's such a bad way to say it, but it's like
That
electricity. It
makes
feels
sense.
almost like you could implode, but that's not what it is. You're literally turning over information. You're like a
Yeah.
supercomputer
Yeah.
right now.
And as you it's almost like when you're like slowly, gradually moving into like a hot tub. All of a sudden, it's like you never feels like you were always in the hot tub. The knowledge, the information,
Hmm.
the
Yes,
knowings. It's like
yes,
you can't remember when you didn't know that.
exactly. That's so good. Yeah, yeah.
It's and the colors, man. Yolanda, we're talking about all kinds of stuff that I've been talking about. It's crazy. So there's this whole thing about a fourth cone. The rods and the
Yeah.
cones are responsible for sight, right? Cones have to do
Mm-hmm.
with color spectrum. And
Mm-hmm.
all of these people, this was a message that my daughter came in and told us about like 2 years ago, maybe. I don't know. I
Yeah.
lost track of time. Time slippage is
Okay.
another one I've been dealing with. But
Uh-huh.
is she said, "Hey, we're gonna start having a fourth cone soon," and she just kind of wandered
That is
away again.
amazing. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Well, there's proof of it now. Now they're talking about it. The scientists, the doctors, they're like, this is something that's happening.
It's
People not
happening.
only are being born with a fourth cone, but their eyes are changing. And what's the fourth cone give you? Ultraviolet. You think that colors do look more vibrant, but then you can also see at night. It's
Isn't
the
that
most
something?
bizarre thing. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh my goodness. Nope. I just said, isn't that something? And oh gosh, who was I talking? I might have been talking to my kids about this just the other day about, how there's less than 1% of what we can actually see, which they've already been told, but I feel like whatever brought this on, when you have conversations with your kids and there's a teaching moment. Okay, so this
Yes.
just came up, all right. Yeah, it's like, you're only seeing so much, but remember everything else from the perspective of somebody outside of you, like somebody you run across in the grocery store or whatever. They're not seeing all this stuff that's moving around with you and them.
Yeah.
Every once in a while you can run into somebody that can see it, especially if they've, just had an ayahuasca treatment or if they've just had other plant medicine, basically. If they
Hmm.
smoke a lot of marijuana, I've seen that tends to happen as well. Just saying, momentarily. I've had people where, neighbors in my old neighborhood, I went to get something from, hey, how are you doing? And they'd been smoking a lot of marijuana and they looked at me and completely freaked the freak out. Okay. Because I have beings all around me.
Yep.
And it's so funny, Pamela, because that's almost proof to you. Like whenever you start to go, is this just me? Am I sane? And then that happens and you're like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, yep, this is happening.
And validated.
And validate. Yes. Oh gosh,
Yeah.
disclaimer, I am not anti-marijuana. For
Right.
anybody nobody freak out. I think that plant medicines are amazing and they are going to be heavily used, and it's starting to pick up now with everything happening and the discoveries about the food, especially in the continental United States and all of that, where people used to hold things as very taboo. That's shifting. I can feel the consciousness shifting. A lot of you probably can too. Earlier, Pamela, some message came through that you put up where somebody said, and we were talking about the field, I think the information in the field, and people were saying they've still got those headaches.
Yeah.
And I meant to say something. I don't know who said that,
I
but
did see it
oh,
too.
Elsa. Thank you, Elsa. She said, Yolanda's, yeah, I'm freaking the neighbors out. Yeah. Oh my
I lost
gosh.
my spot. Let's see, hold on.
I'm
Oh,
sorry.
I don't remember where that was. I did see it though.
You saw
No,
it too.
oh, here it is. Lots of headaches around the third eye. I'm noticing it too.
Yeah, and I even saw like a little protrusion, and I thought I was getting one of those menopausal hormonal acne outbreaks. It was like a thing right in the middle of my head, and I'm like, there we go. I'm breaking out again. I'm gonna have to figure out some, natural estrogen. There's men hang in there, okay? You need to know all this too. But regardless, it was something about the third eye. Because that happened, right? Made the discovery. And then I'm like, okay, I'm getting my mind all set to maybe do something different with my skin. And then I felt like a numbness. And I always feel like something's pressing from the inside, like it's from the inside of my skull. All right.
Yeah.
And I don't know how else to describe that. It's like it turns all spongy. There's some pressure. And then either someone's trying to, now this is going to be information for a lot of you if you don't know a lot yet about different types of telepathy.
Mhm.
So depending on if someone is trying to connect with you, you can feel there might be like a spongy sensation. All right, if they're trying to connect with you directly. And you don't have to be necessarily clairsentient, but if you are clairsentient, yeah, that's what you have felt almost certainly. But there are different types of telepathy. You can also have a type of telepathy. Oh, Mercury, yes. Telepathy, you guys. Okay. You can have a type of telepathy as well where you have this instant communication. Oftentimes, this is spontaneous. It will sound like an echo. It's
Yeah,
echoing like their voice, right? In your head. And it's like, it's not an echo like you're in a cave, okay? But I mean, not really. It's not like da 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 da. It's not that. But it's almost like a cavernous, echoing type of, you're hearing their voice or something that they're doing, even. You can
it's
almost,
reverberation.
yes, it's a reverberation. And you can even pick up on what they're doing as well at the same time. So it's very strange. Whereas if they're just trying to connect with thoughts only and it's intentional, a lot of times you'll literally feel where their energetic cord, their intention, this is coming through now, is what they're explaining to me. It's like as if their energetic cord is coming through. And that's why you're feeling it in that specific spot. They're focused on it in that way, versus if it's spontaneous and they're just communicating with you without realizing it
Yeah,
or not even understanding to focus it. I hope that makes sense. So you guys
totally
might
makes
get
sense.
echoey stuff. Okay. And then you've got the telepathy that's just full body. You're just feeling what they're feeling. You're laughing with them. You're feeling their emotions in other ways, just all sorts of things. We can keep going in many directions with that, and we won't right now, but yeah, that can go a whole lot of different ways.
Yeah.
It's full body telepathy. Yeah, that came out of nowhere, didn't it?
That's awesome. I'm glad you did. There's actually a couple others too. There's flashes of what they're thinking or seeing. I get visuals.
Visuals,
People,
yeah.
it's like a projection. You know what? We project on each other. That's a word people talk about, but a lot of times we don't realize what it is.
Mhm.
If you create a circle and you're in the middle of the circle, when you have an intense emotion or experience, it goes like this, especially it will usually kind of like be like a funnel directed
Okay.
at a space. And
Okay.
you can see that energy. I can see that energy, but it's interesting to watch. I've experimented with it too. And there
Okay.
are people who everybody feels it, everybody reacts. Not
Yeah.
everybody knows. Some people know deeper of what's going on, you know.
Okay.
Um, but for me, people like to give me images, and I've
Mhm.
learned to like filter
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Were you about to
sensation.
touch on, Pamela, were you about to touch on when you said some people know it more deeply? And I don't want to go negative, but it's interesting because I'm toying. There's another, I shouldn't say toying with because it's not a game, but there's another message that really wants to be recorded by me that I'm hanging on to. It's been channeled for a while and it's not as positive, and it is about people who you would never know understand this stuff. And they might have been just like we were born from birth, just like your baby girl was born,
Yeah,
with these gifts, right? But she knows through your filter and her own filter, but through in your field within your stream and aided by your frequency, she carries it a certain way and she focuses on it in a certain way, right? It's like innately through her heart, innately
right,
with this intent, right? But then everybody, that's not everybody. Some people are born with the gift, but they have a different experience and they are projecting it in a different way.
right.
And there's something specific going on in a couple collectives right now that, yeah. Whew. So I'll
Mhm.
probably have to touch on that just for, it's not going to affect everybody because it depends on where you're focused and who you're connected to. A lot of us are very isolated, and that's the reason that
Yeah,
we're very isolated, because we understand, if you keep connections with these certain streams of focus, even with the best of intentions, and of course it's with the best of intention, but it's able to reach you. The things that they are doing are able to reach you, and it will feed a cycle. So anyway, not to
right.
go, yeah, yeah.
That's actually a really. I'm glad you actually got to this point because
Okay.
I had made a note that we needed to mention this because it was highlighted a little bit earlier. You mentioned, um, you think you used the word purging, and then people are walking away in your life,
Blush.
kind of stuff. I
Hmm.
get the word shedding relationships and shedding. Shedding makes a lot of sense to me. To me, it's like, okay, that sounds a little more palatable. Like I'm okay with that, you know. And at first, perhaps it doesn't feel that great when you're like, you know, maybe it's a relationship, and isn't always romantic either. These relationships, but perhaps if you pull back energetically, you might see that there's a siphoning of your energy occurring, you know, in these interactions. And not only that, often we're both parties of the relationship, the friendship or whatever it is, are both trying to force each other to do whatever it is, you know, and not
Yeah.
force it back into this earlier relationship that you had, you know, and it doesn't serve either parties. And
Yeah.
that moves into another point. Is it was highlighted earlier and I wrote it down. I've been taking notes, and then we just get so many, we have so many things to talk about. The shifting of the two worlds. This is
Oh
what
yeah.
I found to be super fascinating when I was talking with spirit like 2 days ago. Maybe it was 2 nights ago. It was around the same time this gray room stuff was happening. They showed
Mhm.
me that the earth is, because I've always seen it, the visual of the two earths kind of separating, but it looks like they were kind of like coexisting, like these orbs behind me, but they
Yeah.
were
Yeah.
kind of like there was a Vesca Pisces space somehow. Well, what they're telling me is it's more physical than we realize. That
Ah.
and the birthing of the earth is now occurring. Terra,
Mm.
they're calling this, and you know, I've heard Terra a lot, but lately they've been calling True Earth, New Earth, whatever. I don't know what to call. They're calling this Terra.
Oh, okay. Okay. That makes sense too to me.
Right.
It does. It makes sense. Terrestrial, if I guess Latin, the Latin base. I mean, they all make sense.
Right.
I don't think she minds. It was Earth Mother for the longest, and she keeps coming to me like Earth Mother,
Mhm.
um, still to this day. But I've always known she didn't mind, just like
Right.
source energy, depending on which perspective. But not to make light of what you're saying.
Oh
So I don't
yeah.
mean it that way. Like,
Yeah.
no, I'm definitely paying attention to Terra, because words have vibration. And
Yeah.
it's very powerful also when there's a collective shift and it shifts into another vibration. So I just want to point that out. Like, I don't mean
Oh
I
yeah.
just I just love that, whatever, however we shift, and the word shifts in vibration to match what's happening with her. Like, she supports us and we support her regardless. And the relationship is so beautiful. And the other day, in another conversation, but it was more like a channeling as well. Earth Mother, I'm trying to remember exactly how this came through, but she was saying, I am you and you are me. Something like that. I am you and you are me. And together we're forming this. Now, I'm paraphrasing heavily. I would have to go dig it out, basically, to just read it, basically. But her point was that this co-creation that's happening, she's not gonna, like, nothing's really going, it's, yeah,
Yeah.
she was just giving me a larger perspective, basically, long
Okay.
story short. But we're held regardless. And she calls me sometimes now, I don't know, and you tell me if you get any of this either, but it's so funny how sometimes she'll come to me as sister,
Yeah.
sometimes it's mother. Yeah, okay.
And sometimes
Yeah.
it's daughter.
Or daughter, yes, yes,
Yeah.
or daughter. So it's very interesting how malleable all that is, depending on what's going on. The
Yeah.
perspective. Yeah.
It's fun. I love that when it's like, because then
Yeah.
you can, it's like she's telling you what role you're taking in this conversation, what
Mm,
title, quote unquote, titles are limiting and not, I know, but she gives us this name in this interaction so you know where you are in this conversation, where you stand
yeah.
or sit, you know.
Yeah.
It's
It's
beautiful.
so
I love it.
the whole thing is like making me relax. And there's something that relaxed around that. I don't know if you did you feel that
Yeah,
talking
I
about
did.
her and Tara, everything just calmed down.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The um activations that we're getting in the coming time, what I'm understanding, the activations that we'll be getting from, for the most part, from here on out, are meant to be just like this. We talk about activations, and often there's like disruption, disorder, feeling
Yeah.
about it, when it's actually meant to be more like coming home.
Mm-hmm.
You remember, we're remembering, we're not learning anything new,
Yeah.
we're recalling.
Yeah.
And so when you get
Well,
to finally go back to your true self, go ahead.
that's right. That no, that's right. I didn't, I'm just like jumping in there, what, because my
Please.
ADHD brain. And I'm okay with that, by the way. That is not an insult. We'll come back around to that too, because I tease on myself all the time about what used to be seen as a shortcoming, air quotes. Okay.
Hmm.
It's not actually a shortcoming, and I think it's hilarious. But yeah, so I just want to jump in there before the thought leaves and something else comes in, right? But
Yeah.
yeah, oh yeah, so the discomfort. When you said that, that's when it came in, and I was like, so that's due to we don't want to let go of the old. Even if we consciously think we want to let go of that old way, the discomfort is that tension resistance, like a rubber band. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah.
And that snapback is powerful.
Right.
You're pulling a rubber band and it's like, I don't want to, you want to gently sort of let go of that rubber. You want to let the rubber band do what rubber bands do, not snap it back. So we're snapping back a lot of rubber bands. But
Yeah.
we're very powerful and strong, so we can handle it. But that's a lot of the excess discomfort, especially emotionally, with the incoming gifts and activations and releasing of things. And I'm including myself. It's not for the faint of heart. All of these things.
Right. I,
Yeah.
I, I'm going to add to that. Before I forget again, I have it written down to say this. For those of you who are interested, you guys have probably seen Josie Jackson come on before. Um, Fifth Essentials LLC. That's her mama. That's what made me think of it again. Um, Hi. Uh, so she's actually doing a couple of things. One is later today at 4:30 my time, 5:30 Eastern time. My time's Central. So that's actually like about 2 hours from now, a little more than 2 hours from now. She's doing a free readings, and that's posted in our Telegram group. That link for that. I think that it's also in this. So I'm going to put this up right now, real quick. This is her Patreon. It's in the YouTube, or yeah, the YouTube one. I'm going to put it up on the screen. I don't know how easy it's going to be for you to all to copy that down, but
Okay.
this one is a link specifically for her quantum healing that she's going to be doing. But you can see that this also her Patreon. Her the quantum healing she's doing is on Saturday, and then that's at the same time, and that's $30. So Josie's event is happening at 5. Oh, did I say? I thought it was at 4:30. I wrote
Oh,
it
it's
wrong. Okay. So it's at okay. So it's at 4 p.m. So that's like a little bit more, like an hour and 10 minutes from now. Wait, yes, that's correct.
Yep.
I had to do
5 p.m. Eastern.
yes, Eastern. And then so any of you who are interested, she's doing the free one today. So you can, and the readings they're not general readings. They're specific for all of us. This is such a great thing that's being offered to us, because I don't typically try to
Yeah.
promote people unless I really like believe in what they're doing. And she's amazing. And Josie too. In fact,
Yeah.
Yolanda, you're the one that actually showed her to me. You posted her in one of your YouTube posts, and I found her that way.
Yeah, Josie's amazing. She's a great reader. She's
Yeah.
got a very uh what's the word? She's very intuitive, but she's also clairvoyant, I think. She's picking it up out of the field and she's picking up on your specific situation. So not every reader is very specific. Do you know what I mean? Like in terms of details. She's good at picking out the details and sort of where this is good is that it's going to affirm something for you. Because she'll find a detail like, okay, this thing right here that's going to, maybe there's something blue or I don't know, just something specific because yeah, I used to really revel in that when I watched. She's not on YouTube much anymore at all, but she used to give readings on YouTube. And I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
So individually, that's going to be a very good reading for sure. Yeah.
And it's free. It's pretty awesome. And then I'll give you a sample of who she is and what she's about for this coming quantum. It's a quantum healing that she's doing on Saturday. It's a group quantum healing. So that I'm trying to see if I can make that work. I got something else going on, but I'm trying to like move my schedule around because I really do want to go to that. That sounds amazing.
Okay. And do you have to go through her Patreon to get to the quantum? I'm trying to read. I don't have my readers on.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you click her Patreon, I think this should bring you to that link.
Okay.
It'll bring you to her page. And then, this one specifically, this link is for the group quantum healing that she's doing.
Okay.
And then, but it'll also take you directly to her page. Sorry.
Okay. She might post it on Instagram. I wonder if her mother, Josie's mom, is she going to she might put it on Instagram. So if any of you guys have Instagram, I know she's got one, but she's only on there. Oh, Josie's here.
Here, and it is 5:30. Okay. I did have it right.
All right. So it's 5:30. Oh, it's 5:30 p.m. And yeah, so Josie, do you still use your Instagram? Are you going to post it there too? I was just curious because a lot of people, they'll click the link there.
And then she says, yeah, this 22nd is at 5 p.m. Okay. I mixed those two up. Okay. So the one that's on the 22nd is at 5 p.m. Eastern time, 4 p.m. Central time. Like, I don't know the way that I translate all your all's time zones when I make those posts and I put everybody's time zones. I use Google, and the way that you do it, just so you know, so you can do it really easily, find the one that's being posted. So here we're talking about Eastern time. So type in 5 p.m. Eastern time, so EST 2, and let's say that your time zone is PST. So then type in PST, and then it'll push search, and it'll come up with the option, what the result for you. She's driving. Josie's driving, so she might not be able to respond to your question.
That's okay.
Yeah. So.
Well, I know she was on Instagram the other day, just for a quick post, not to post, but to just mention something. So yeah, you guys might be able to find like this stuff just if you go to her Instagram page, like she might have the link or something like that.
Yeah. The reason I brought this up right then at that moment, well, I was just going to, and then I saw her mom in the audience, is that we were just talking about figuring out, what kind of telepathy you're using, how to know what it is that's leaving you and what's coming in. And a lot of times we don't. I find, so what spirit tells me is the fuel for all things in spirit. So the gas, the thing that makes it go, is belief. And the more belief and trust in yourself is the same thing, right? That's belief in yourself. The more belief that you have, the faster and more powerful the mechanism that's being driven. So if you can find whatever it is that assists you to validate your experience, like Yolanda's awesome story about her neighbors seeing, I have those too. My daughter's been my validation. Before her, like, I was started to real question myself, and then 2014, this little baby's in my arms, and she would see the light of the being that I was ignoring and refusing to look at. Because I was like, they're all, like I was convincing myself that I was crazy again, and she would see it first, and so if we can't find someone like that or an experience like that, going to others, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
to find validation. And then you can learn to trust yourself. And then you can have that belief. And then you're not gaining power. You're realizing the powerful being that you already are.
Yes. That's so well said. Oh my goodness. It just makes me happy. I'm like giggling on the inside a little bit because I'm remembering too the fairies. Okay, you guys, I might have told you this before, but I don't know what I say. But listen. So when my now gigantic 15-year-old who's taller than me, but who isn't, right? When he was like 4, I had started to see fairies. Okay, but just like you said, it's like, but you don't have the validation. Okay, so I'm hearing from other people on YouTube about fairies, and I knew I had seen some things because you start waking up, you start seeing things, you're trying to identify what you're seeing, so you're kind of looking around. That's sort of the way this goes, right? And so we had a big tree. Well, we still do. There's a big tree in the house in Wisconsin. All right, where my kids grew up. All right,
Yeah.
so in the house in Wisconsin, and right in front of the house, and I would come in, like the sun would hit this tree. It's like in between the tree and the front door in a certain way. And I'd be coming in, bringing kids in from school or whatever, all right, from some errand to school, and it'd be hitting, and I would see these fairies. And one day, Elijah saw the fairies. I thought I would literally jump out of my skin, out of the car, fall out. You know what I mean? You just want to like
Yeah.
freak out. You're like, oh my gosh, this baby sees these fairies. And they would just be dancing in the sunlight. Now, if you guys haven't seen fairies, they're tiny, okay? They can present themselves bigger, I'm sure. But they're very tiny when you first see them anyway. The ones I've seen, I've only ever seen them tiny. They almost look like flecks of light. You will think you're seeing flecks of dust in the sunlight, and you could be. Some of them will be flecks of dust in the sunlight, but eventually you'll be able to tell the difference. And if you call them forward, like once they know you expect them and you can see them, oh, they're going to show up.
Yeah.
They started to show up and put on a show because we were able to see them. Same thing with sylphs, elementals. There was a sylph. I hope I'm saying that right. Sylph, I think. And somebody will correct me, and please definitely do. I'm not the authority here, but I will
I've never
tell
heard
you.
the TH part pronounced.
Oh,
Still.
so how do you pronounce it?
Still.
Just Syl?
Yeah. That's how I've heard it.
Hey, listen, you're probably right. So this thing showed up to the older one in the basement. So I don't know. So this is what I would call, I've got to stop saying I don't know. I'm literally like, they're like, stop saying you don't know. So it's just a thing I say. I definitely do know. But I'm just going to leave this up to you guys to sort of suss out. Okay. So in our basement, this thing showed up to my older son. And this is also proof of the extra dimensional nature, or the extra dimensional and interdimensional abilities of these little beings. They can pop in and out of dimensions, make themselves available, pop in and out of, adjust to different frequencies. They're clarifying. The way that I'm saying this isn't actually clear enough. So it's not so much that they're popping in and out of dimensions, they're adjusting their frequency, much in the same way that, say, one of our extragalactic brothers, that's the way I like to put it, extra as in extraplanetary, not interplanetary, they would adjust their frequency just enough for us to detect them. So this is more what they're doing, but they can pop in and out of dimensions too. That's actually something different. So apparently this little sucker was adjusting its frequency, apparently, is what I'm getting right now. And so he kind of alerted me to this, right? Like I'm somewhere else in the house. Who knows what I was doing, as you know, with the memory, okay? Who knows? He calls me. I'm like, what's going on? I thought he's going to tell me there was a big spider or a big moth or a butterfly. And he's like, this thing keeps showing up and now I can't find it. Do you know that thing showed up for me? Because at that point I was, communicating with animals and,
Right.
I was heavy communicating telepathically with all living beings, trees especially, just anything. And they were responding back to me. Like I had that going at that point. But I didn't know as much about elementals. Clearly. So yeah, so this thing showed itself while I was there and boom, was gone again. It was just popping up and then it was gone again. And a similar one, well, first of all, then they started showing up on soccer fields because that's what happens. Once you see one and they communicate with each other, they'll start showing up to you.
Yep.
They'll be amidst the butterflies. They'll be mixed in if you pay attention. And the more you want them to, you're looking, they're going to be like, all right, I'm going to show myself to you. They will make themselves more obvious.
Yeah.
And another really big one showed up about maybe it was 2 to 3 years ago. Because my kid doesn't play soccer anymore. We don't do that. But at the time he did, a huge one. To me, it was gigantic. Showed up and the soccer coach, his wife saw it. It was the first time another person outside our family who was
Cool.
not awake to any of this, she was like, what is that? Because it just kept showing up and then it would just disappear, it would blink out. So that's proof of its supernatural nature. So she couldn't deny it must be supernatural. It just literally disappeared before my eyes. So that was so cool.
Wow.
Anyway.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, I love this topic. We can go on this topic for a long time. Like, I experienced a lot of different things. One of the things that I find to be so this is something that those who experience it know what I'm talking about. And if you haven't, it's okay. But like, there's the nighttime ones and there's the daytime ones. And the nighttime ones, so I've been somebody, I'm a nighttime person, but I was raised that way. Like I was raised my dad was a graveyard shift person, and all that kind of thing. But anyway, they're very mischievous and like they're prankster energies,
Okay.
like at night. And so, knowing that they're not intending to cause any kind of discomfort for you or anything like that, but they're definitely
They think it's
coming in
funny.
with a different vibe
Yeah.
at night. But they also glow at night, but not in the same way. It looks kind of like a faded glow. The daytime
Okay.
ones, I see them really glowy. Are really glowy. Like um they're more pretty, like what
Mhm.
we would call pretty. And then
Yeah.
the nighttime ones are a little bit more, they look like you see them, but they look kind of like distorted, not like just they look like they could blend into a tree's
Yeah.
bough, you know?
So like the bark, like
Yeah.
almost like camouflage, something like that.
Yeah, yeah. Nighttime
Okay.
camouflage.
Okay.
Yeah. But the seeing them glow, I had an experience that not long ago. We were somebody visiting, and there was a little. I don't see those tiny fairies anymore. They're usually quite a bit bigger. But this
Oh,
little teeny tiny fairy came right up in front of my eyeball, like literally this far away from my eye, so I would see it, and I was able
yeah.
to see her completely. And then she went down to the same thing for my daughter, and we're walking with somebody else, and as soon as the other person approached, she zipped away. He
Oh,
saw what she
oh.
was, but he didn't recognize her as a fairy. He thought that she was an insect. He was like, that's
Uh,
a weird white insect, and so it's like, if they
and
want you to see them, they will.
yeah,
You will, I mean, yeah.
right. Yeah.
So I love fairies. I love them. They're so cool. They're
They're
really
very cool. Yeah.
so.
Oh,
After you started to get validation with the fairies and stuff, have you had any new in your new place? Because you've relocated. You're in a different. You don't go to soccer
well,
fields anymore. And
yeah, I'm not on the soccer fields because I just kind of let them. I think you know this too, and I'll just mention it because somebody might have kids, and this is another tricky area.
right,
Everybody's experience is different,
right,
and there can be a lot of judgment. So I would just suggest to everyone to definitely do your thing because
right,
kids, and they each have their own like path and unique purpose, and some of them are very aware of it, and there's all this stuff going on. Okay, so I may be just preaching to the choir and everybody knows this. Now I'm getting to say it. Yeah. So, but just even with other people's kids and what's going on, it's just like it's going to be so unique. So for us, it was like a blend. Like because they were older at the time, I just let it blend through, where when they were ready to like let go of things, they did and whatnot. I miss the soccer quite a lot, but I don't obviously miss the 3D elements
Yeah.
of the social part of it. Okay, I just miss the fun game, the fun part, the exercise, kids laughing and whatever. All right, even older kids. In fact, we were lucky. We lucked out and had like good groups of kids, and some of that was our frequency being amidst it. Your frequency is very contagious, and when you emanate it out, especially if you're aware and you emanate it on purpose, people will breathe that in and they'll start to pick up on it and carry it back. It's very strange and wonderful. It's very wonderful. So, but yeah, so we haven't been back here, but now we're more communing with the animals and stuff.
Awesome.
So yeah, there are some things showing themselves and letting us know that they're apparent, but it's more like channeling. It's more the beings, and then communicating with the physical animals that are like out in the water. And like I'm looking at trees in the window right now while I'm talking to you guys. That's why I've got the window open as it's getting
Awesome.
dark. But yeah, there's just a lot of communing. There was this gigantic millipede that came in. I swear it was like Amazonian, the size of this millipede. I was like, oh, Indiana Jones, what in the world, It was just sitting on the curtain, and he was kind of chilling out. And my older kid was just like, yeah, so there's a gigantic Jurassic creature, like, and I'm not sure. He wasn't communicating with him. He panicked first, because he hasn't seen a millipede. Millipedes aren't everywhere. They're not in Wisconsin real big. And so
Right.
I just went over, as you guys could probably relate, and just, checked him out, talked to him. He was so adorable, this millipede. You wouldn't think not everybody would call a millipede adorable, but you guys, his whole disposition, this is the beauty of this planet and where the frequency is going to, because maybe 20 years ago I might not have even realized to give him the chance to be adorable. Okay, I
Right.
promise I'll try to make this right. I'll try to like wrap this up, but it seems like such a silly conversation, but this is directly related, I promise you. He felt so comfortable. He didn't even freak out when I was coming over there with a bowl to put him in, and like a lot of things will like freak out. Well, millipedes, they don't actually attack anyway. Centipedes attack, but the millipedes won't. They'll
Right.
curl up into a little ball like a roly-poly is what I call.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
basically, yeah. And so, but he didn't panic or anything. And he was just like, oh, how'd I get here? His whole demeanor was like, what happened to my tree? I don't understand how I ended up here. But I like you guys. I thought we could just let him stay here, but he wanted to go back outside, so we put him out back in the front yard. He was literally the most cute insect I've ever. He was huge. He should have been scary, but with those little antennas and the way he was just communicating, he sounded like Eeyore from Winnie
Yeah.
the Pooh is how but he wasn't upset. He was like an Eeyore type of, you know?
That's awesome.
Yeah, and then my oldest, he's 20 now, so he's at that age where he's got, a foot in both worlds, and he was like, okay, I'm glad I didn't completely panic. I forgot to like check in with myself before I panicked about this
Yeah.
huge creature in our house out of nowhere, but yes, it was pretty cool.
Wow. That is so awesome. Thank you for sharing your story. I'm finding the same to be true for me too. I mean, I get a lot of different funny comments about the skunks that hang out with me. Like, and I pet them and stuff, and like they're really sweet. And I've never had a skunk spray me, or they
Mhm.
are like a really great like security dogs,
Yeah.
because not only do people run away from a skunk just naturally because of they know about the spraying, but they don't actually. I don't know them to spray anybody. They lunge and growl at people that
Wow.
are nasty energy. Yeah.
Wow. I feel like I've heard you say this before. I might have, because I pop into your lives, and sometimes I'll get in there and listen for a while and get out because I just like it. I
Yeah.
love this energy. Obviously, I'm here. And you're so full of information. So I'm like, okay, let me see what's going on. And you're so good with the astrological part of certain events. You know what I mean? Like you have the skinny on what's going on with the eclipses and all of the things that I like just kind of like plug my ears and tunnel vision. I'm like, la, 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 what eclipse? I'm just kidding. But it's just so much. You are right on there. So I kind of try to tune in. And I feel like you mentioned that before about these skunks.
Yeah.
This cracks me up. The skunks
Yeah.
growl and drive people away. It makes me almost want to skunk here, but I feel like I'm the one that the skunk would just accidentally spray or something like, whoops. I don't
Yeah.
know.
I think they spray when they're scared. I don't think they do it
Nervous.
like that. I don't feel like, it's kind of like, I mean, it's not to the detriment of their lifespan like it is a bee, but it's kind of
Mhm.
like a bee. A bee will only sting at the last possible, like there's no other option. Like
Mhm.
they don't tend to be like spray happy in my opinion or
Okay.
experience. But I've heard of people saying, well, you should just take their gland out or something. And
Oh,
no
no,
way.
because
I'm not
that's their
gonna.
defense.
Yeah, dude, that's part of their,
Yeah.
like, I mean, the way that we've been taught over the past just 100 years, it's like, our bodies, our physical bodies are like a car. Just go to the auto shop and just pull random stuff out and see what happens to your car, dude. Like, oh, I guess I don't need that tube.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I mean, we have to laugh at it. No judgment, no judgment. But yeah, I gotta laugh at it because it's so true. And it's
Yeah,
funny because it's like we have to relearn it before we can like do it right. And just follow me here because that's good. That sounds like kind of nuts what I'm saying. So what's a good way to say this? How am I supposed to say this? So there will come a time where we are using a lot of technology that's extremely heart oriented and geared toward just fun, just exploration, just wow, let's see what we can do. And this is cool. And we are advancing, and it's completely different than innovating for the purposes of income, for survival, for competition in a competitive way, or it's got a lot to do with the paradigm of needing to look outside of ourselves and compete against something in order to have basic needs met.
yeah,
So that's what's got to go.
yeah,
That's what's got to go. That's why everything happening on the world stage is so freaking confusing.
yeah,
The walking and chewing gum, because that's the part that's got to go. And it's still definitely there, but there has to be this window of transition. And the window of transition is quite prickly.
yeah.
So the advancement, like I don't like all the jokes about, and I shouldn't say I don't like all the jokes. And okay, let me just say the jokes are very funny. There are a lot of very funny jokes about things that people have done, and I definitely make fun of myself for a lot. I mean, I don't have a uterus. I'll just tell you right now, because a lot of things were going on, and I didn't know back then
Right.
certain things that I maybe could have tried first before having a hysterectomy. I was in a lot of trouble. I was literally anemic, and it was now affecting my heart. What was going on with my menstrual cycle. Okay, this is something that needs to be heard by women, men, everybody.
Yeah.
And this is something that's changing now anyway. Men are comfortable with this now. They understand. Hey, that's a big deal. We didn't get brought up knowing that was a big deal, but it's a big deal. You
Right.
know, cool, all right. So I had to have that done for my health, but had I known. But so it's sort of like a lot of that sort of thing going on, and a
Oh, yeah.
lot of people there could be people that are still sensitive. This isn't, and by the way, I love your jokes, so this doesn't have anything to do with any of the jokes that you post. I love jokes, period, and you know that, so that's not
Yeah.
about that. If you guys are ever, God love you. If you're ever on Facebook, and Pamela knows probably what I'm going to say, Facebook is a different animal, okay? So you have the good hearted jokes that are clearly coming from a heart space. And then you have some thank you, Jen. It's been a few years, thank God. But anyway, Yeah, but then you have some that are still kind of climbing out of stuff, and they're coming through some of their trauma, and that's cool. So I'm actually not judging that either. And some of those jokes are actually also hysterically funny. But
Yeah.
I also, and as many of you know, if you're an empath, you can feel other people's reaction to those jokes as well. And it also,
Yeah.
there's even another funny layer. It's not even funny, but I'm gonna laugh at it. Then, if you're one of these strange souls who, for some reason, is a glutton for punishment or masochist before you came down here, because my higher self, I'm convinced, is a comedian. She is a comedian, okay?
Yep.
So, if you're one of these who are supposed to bridge gaps and see all of the sides, and you see all of this and you feel both sides, that can be okay, so that's a lot. And that's a lot if you're on Facebook because you can feel the shift that wants to happen over here, but then you feel the blockage that comes when the
Yeah.
shift that wants to happen over here meets the blockage of trauma over here and vice versa, both,
Yeah.
either way. They're just coming at each other either way. It's like a boxing match with people that don't know how to box and no one trained them. And they're just fighting, okay? There's no working through that yet. There is working through it. I shouldn't say there's no working through it. It's happening slowly, but it can be crazy making, which is why a lot of you very smartly, if that's not something that you literally were designed to come here to do, you stay away. And you should like literally put your blinders on and keep going.
Yep.
It could be rough stuff to like literally witness
Yeah.
the divide, okay?
Mhm.
Yeah, but it's all good, and it's all going to be okay. And I want to say so that clearly there are people coming into your community who are supposed to do what I'm doing to some degree, what I just mentioned,
Yeah.
for that to come through. I just want to point that out. All right. Yeah, if that's you, keep your heart open and go straight in. Just jump
Yep.
straight in. You gotta, when I say keep your heart open, there isn't a large enough way. There aren't really true enough words in the English language that I know, or any other language probably, to denote how important that is
Right.
at this time if you see everything. Don't jump one way or the other. Really just try to stay focused. It's going to get tough if you have to pay attention.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very, very well said. Very well said. And I'm just to add in my 2 cents to that because I don't really want to change anything that was all perfectly said. From my perspective and experience regarding what you had just said, I've learned something, and it took a lot of different trial and error kind of moments, and that's why I want to share that with you all. Is
Okay.
because we are very sensitive to what we call not being a bitch, right, or an asshole, whatever word you want to use, right?
I wasn't ready. I'm
Sorry. You're like, she said a swear word.
No, please carry on. Please.
And that is to the point that it's to our own detriment, and not only just our own, but the others that we're there to support and help. And
Yeah.
so when we're too worried about being nice to everybody, instead
Yeah.
of responding accordingly, whatever it's true for you and your own truth, then it messes up the story, right? And I had the luxury of being in these experiences when I was in these Zoom meetings. When I first started to do these Zoom meetings, we would have a
Yeah.
few people who were kind of aggressive and a bit of a bully. And,
Oh,
week after week, at one point, I was almost not going to do it anymore because
oh my
and then I
God.
realized, wait, this is my Zoom meeting,
Mhm.
and so, I thought I was being a bitch. In my moment, being present in my mind, I thought I
Yeah.
was. And then when I was, all I did was say, this is not acceptable. I'm not okay with this. You can either
Mhm.
stop doing this or you can leave, and
Yeah.
like to me, I was like, wow, I was really mean. Um, and
Mm-mm.
not only did it help a lot of
Mm-mm.
people by the example of it, but then also they their response made it so I understood I wasn't being unkind. In fact, I was being kind. We were actually having people not want to come because of these same
Because of
people.
it.
I wasn't the only
Yeah.
one. And then
Yeah.
to fast forward now, like Facebook, for example, I'm only in Facebook because Spirit told me to go there while it depopulates. Like, and I love the
Mhm.
memes. And
The
as
memes are
any of you,
great.
they're fun. But I am happy to go in and delete y'all's comments if you're going to fight. You can be assholes someplace else. You know, people
Yes.
talk about free speech. Yeah, free speech it up. Not in my bubble, though.
Yep, that's right. Pamela, you'll notice, and well, you don't have time to notice, but if you ever scroll through the comments, and some of the people here probably know and or have scrolled or they will, you won't see a lot of mess. And that's
Yeah,
not a coincidence.
yeah,
It's my responsibility. And each of us, I know you do too, we take it very seriously, but in your personal lives, take it seriously too. That's a lot about what's happening with this equinox now that we're in this beginning between the eclipses. Between these eclipses, there's a blink. Like I keep getting some eyes shutting, and when they open, it is different. Okay,
yeah,
like things are gone.
yeah,
Because it is your responsibility to carefully curate your stream of consciousness, your house, basically, your
yeah,
quantum field, you know.
yeah,
And it's, whew, I just keep getting, it's going to be kind of tough this time around a little bit. You wouldn't think, you'd think we'd already done all that, right? But you know what it is? We keep rewriting the story because we have to. We're
yeah,
evolving. We're so fast. And so, you get one place and then people begin to, rightfully so, go through their own shift. So in your lives, right, you'll have an offshoot over here of your community or whatever it is, or maybe it's an institution that you worked with or something like that. Something shifts inside of that. It no longer matches where you're going, and if you try to make that work, there is this friction, and the friction is going to stagnate you greatly. And it's almost going to be painful. You're going to have to let some of these things go, and by let it go, it just means shift your attention. Sometimes it doesn't even mean you have to physically go anywhere, but
right,
like in your case, Pamela, like what you said, a lot of this stuff's going to be head on. It really is.
yeah,
It's just, yeah, yeah. You're better than me because I just tend to just like delete comments. And then well, on Facebook, I do say, I have in the past, explained to myself for a split second, but then I communicate in the ether. And
yeah,
if there's not a shift, I just go on and delete, period. And I've blocked a
yeah,
couple people, and I don't like doing that, especially on Facebook, because once you block on something like that, and this is actually the same in your life. You can do the same thing. You know how it gets blurry and you can no longer find that person. That's actually the same thing that happens with a very strong intentional block in the quantum field.
yeah,
Okay, so, basically in the ether, whatever word you want to use, there's so many different words for the same thing, right? But it is the space between spaces. It's where we meet, not in our physical body. And there are different layers of this. It's not all on the same layer. You can be different places simultaneously. And so you're going to want to block all those layers. You buy,
right,
you just, and it's not permanent. So don't panic. You can block somebody and you could just literally set a time limit. You can literally say, 7 days. 7 days, you could literally say in perpetuity forever through all timelines and frequencies.
right,
You could go from A to, and even if you say that, once you communicate again, it's open anyway. So there's
yeah,
no permanent concrete thing that's going to happen. But what it does is it gives you space, it gives the other person or even institution, situation,
yeah,
space, whatever that is. Because you guys, situations are like people. They house. What do I mean by situation? So if you have a traditional job, which a lot of you are going to hold traditional jobs because you're needed still. So we got to let go of all of the what we're supposed to do, what we're not supposed to do. We're moving through, right? So that job, that place is its own entity. It's also emanating a frequency based on the collective frequency inside that space. And
Yeah.
so, depending on the balance of that, that's why some people can't survive in a space like that. What is that space like? You
Yeah.
know, and conversely, some people are meant to come in and blow that space wide open because it was supposed to burn down to the ground, metaphorically, figuratively,
Right.
obviously
Right. Right.
figuratively burn,
Right.
right, and be rebuilt. And a lot of that we're seeing happen, and I'm hearing, I saw the flip flop again, where I keep seeing the flip flops. And that was like, I think part of the title of this last message was something was flipped upside down,
Yeah.
where we think something was actually going to end. Actually, somebody went in, blew it up from the inside, and it started anew. So we're going to see a lot of that go on.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm just seeing
I'm getting
stuff.
that too. I've been getting
Yeah,
that for a little bit. We get a
okay.
lot of this end of the world, end of, and it's like beginning of it's renewing and renewing in a good way though. Like starting from a point where it was, you could say it was meant to, or you could say what's more aligned, for it, but when we set our boundaries, um, let me say that first. People talk about boundaries or setting the space, say declaring your space, like you were talking about, rather than blocking. It's, I do block some people, there, it's just kind of, but by declaring and setting boundaries, I've found that these energies that we're don't want around don't come around
They
because you're
just, yeah,
setting your attention. You're
yeah.
saying, I'm not okay with this. Once you
Mhm.
take back your power, because, a lot of, I was told throughout my life, as many of us have been, that saying no isn't the most unloving thing you can say. And, you know,
Yeah,
when we started to move through and away from the timeline of the victimizer, a lot of the people who were still trying to be victimizers were saying that you weren't allowed to set your boundaries. And they were like, well, there's no longer the time of victims. So obviously you want, no, I will kick your ass, if
yeah.
I need to. But by
There's
declaring that, it stops it. Go ahead.
yeah, sorry. Yeah, here I go, right? You see I was holding on. I was trying really hard that time, Pamela.
You did great.
So, well, first I want to read. Somebody said, "Oh goodness, Yolanda, I asked my spirit guides a question earlier, and they just answered through you." Oh my goodness, they know I would understand that way. Yep, that's how it goes too. Thank you, Jen.
Yeah.
That's so amazing. Okay, but yeah, regarding what you were saying too, Pamela, with the now it's not okay to say no. And now, since we know we can't sit in our victim, that, we have to act like this thing never happened and we have to just allow things. No, no,
Right.
no, 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 no. Yeah, saying no is self love. Like we're learning that the core of ourselves are the most important thing to love because in honor it because it's part of the source of creation. We are the source, we're part of source, all of the above. So if you
Yeah.
don't love yourself and honor yourself, it's the same thing, as within so without, as above so below. All of that applies.
Exactly.
Also with the groups, the things that have happened throughout history, I noticed that came about. You know, well, all of a sudden we can't speak on things that have happened or acknowledge it, or all of this, sort of pretending things didn't happen. No, okay, yeah,
Yeah.
nobody's supposed to sit in the victimization of it. However, we all still need to heal. Whatever this group is that seems like it's different than you isn't. We all
Yeah.
came here from a higher perspective where we might have been doing many different things at the same time from this one higher self comes down into different offshoots. It doesn't come down into one person. There are many different aspects of something and many different people. That's just one way to look at it. Another way to look at it is as you cycle through, and we're just talking about the human lives in this moment, okay? Because it's so much more broad than that, as you guys know. But let's just sit on just only coming through to earth. You've come through to earth as many different things. So yes, in this physical DNA, you might have certain things that come through this physical lineage, but you hold etherically all of these things, and we're all part of source.
Yeah.
So the point is to help everyone heal through everything through intention. Can we go there and heal for them? No, but the solid intention, just like you said, with setting the boundaries, this isn't different.
Yeah.
The solid intention through the heart of seeing the wholeness, seeing something made whole, seeing something be able to express joy and feel seen, feel I care what happened. I love you. You are me and I am you. That's okay. Why are you letting me go here? Yeah, that's actually the shift. Everyone wants to know what the shift is. Where is the shift? What do we do? The shift is through the heart. But nobody wants to work on their heart. Well, obviously people do because you're here. But a lot of people, when they wake up to the physical stuff, the stuff, ding, 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 I can touch this, see it, there's science to it. I can see that war, I can hear this, I'm opposite you, and now I have something to be mad at. All of that is still coming out through the trauma. I'm not trying to make fun of it. I know that I tend to have a comedic side and it can seem inappropriate at times, but I'm not making fun of the situation. It's just the way I'm speaking.
Oh, you're doing great.
Okay, but because it could be so much worse. I'm really holding back here.
Oh, you're doing great. You can let it all hang out if you want, really. I mean, everybody in this audience, I don't think we have anybody in the audience who don't, on some level, have innate knowing, telepathy, understanding kind of stuff. So you can talk about really anything and people take it for what you mean it for.
But here's the thing. Yes, let me just honor what you said. Thank you and yes first. Also, I'm saying beyond that, your words and your field is going to reach so much more than even who stops by to see this video. And I see those walls and I see those triggers, and a lot of you guys do too. And some of you, if you didn't before now, you might start, quite frankly. So hold on to your pants after this. And so, yeah, when you pick up on that, you tend to just go ahead and preemptively apologize. That's my bad. That's my bad.
You know, something new that's been happening with me is I'm trying not to apologize anymore. And I'm finding it to be very difficult.
Oh, I was going to tell you to show me how to do it, Pamela.
I know. Because it's such a politeness of society that I don't know. Hey, it's 333 right now, by the way. I don't know how not to, and I'm learning, but it's really forced. I feel it's really clunky,
Oh, yeah. No, I get you completely. And okay, I'm going to tell you something funny. So in the physical world, I have gotten much better at that recently, only due to but I was forced into the situation of having to assert myself to literally survive. I hate to be dramatic about it, but we know we go through these things. Each of us, we all have our stuff in our story, okay? So, and actually this isn't the first time, but this was in a different way. This was a little different. It was sort of like this patriarchy that wants to hold on. All right. And by that, I just mean distorted masculine energy. I'm not speaking about masculines in general. Okay. That's not what I'm saying. But a distorted version of that coming through people, not just men. This comes through men and women. It's just everybody has masculine and feminine. Right. There's also a distorted feminine trying to hang on as well outside of what you would think of as awakened people, okay? And that's acting out differently.
Right.
Anyway, so I was running into the distorted masculine version of that in the 3D world as I was trying to get stuff done and do things. So I did relearn how to assert my authority. It was loving. The intention was loving, but yeah, they probably didn't know they were being loved, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
All right. And so that's back. But then when you guys are so, it's so easy here with I'm so comfortable in this environment. I definitely still want to apologize. And I know that you're right. We do need to stop apologizing. for things in general, and just accept that people, I mean, I think this is what you're saying, just accept that people will understand the intention and, just breathe through the intention of it and keep moving. I don't know. You say, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but that's how I was feeling it, what you were
Oh
saying.
yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
It's fit. It's going to be a really cool year. It's going to be a really cool year,
Uh-huh.
And you had said something that I'm going to go back to the just real quick. Earlier, you mentioned the elastic band, and so I took this out, and it's kind of funny you mentioned this just now. But
Yeah.
this stuff, this distortion or whatever it is that's surfacing and coming out in the next little bit, it is.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say that you're here on the end of this elastic band or rubber band,
Yeah.
and um, and this other energy comes in and anchors us, false anchoring. And
Uh-huh.
the thing is, if it wasn't for this activation, this false anchoring, this contrary energy, we wouldn't
Uh-huh.
have anything to anchor us enough to propel us,
Well,
right?
yes.
And
Yes.
so that's what's happening right now. So if you understand what it is when it's happening, then it doesn't have to feel ucky. It can
Yeah.
still, you can understand it enough to be like, okay, I can get through this. It's like having, if I can do anything as long as I have an expiration date on it, you know? And this is one of those temporary, short-lived kind of things. This
Yeah.
year is going to be a lot of releasing
Yes.
for a lot of
Yes.
people.
A lot of releasing. And part of that, well, this is what, I don't know if this is what you were saying. So I think I'm adding to what you're saying.
Yeah.
Maybe. But there's so many more awakenings. Like people are deciding. So, okay, the farce, a lot of the stuff that's going on, I'm talking about in the physical world where they're not yet trying to be as aware of the non-physical and the heart and all that. Okay. And I'm being specific on purpose. I know it's a crazy train, but just go with me. All right. So the stuff that's happening to distract, to provide distractions and all of that is what you're talking about. So it's crazy because it's forcing more people to also decide, well, I wonder what this other thing is that these people are talking about. And what
Yeah.
are these orbs being seen? Even though some of them, as you know, are going to be false flags, and set up a story. I don't know if you guys know that, and I don't want to get our video like banned, so I don't know how much I should say, but there's definitely something that has been planned. It's probably not going to move forward, but it is one of the many, plans that get planned to try to control a population. These things have happened. You guys, I'm sure, mostly know this. One of them was, yeah, we got a couple false flag ideas. All right, so that was going to try to come forward, okay?
Yeah.
And what happened is it inspired people more than scared them. It's like it was a litmus test. Let's see what the reaction will be, right?
Yeah.
It just brought more people on board. It just brought more
Yep.
people wanting to understand it more. And that's going to lead them straight to their heart. It's not
Yep.
going to lead them. The wars, tie that in with now. Let's have more wars. Let's kill more children. Let's do all of this stuff. I'm sorry to talk about this here. Nobody wants to talk about it. And that's okay. I don't blame you. But I'm only bringing it up for a certain reason.
Yeah.
What they thought was just going to be this type of distraction and pull people into lower frequencies will actually move them into higher frequencies by default, because they're only going to be able to take so much of that.
Yeah.
And that is what is happening. More people are awakening than were expected, actually, at this point. And so here we go.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
off and running. And there's going to be more. This isn't the last wave. I know we think that we're always at the last thing, but this is a process. Is it finite? Whew. Okay, so that was obviously an activation and a clearing for somebody. This is an infinite process, but there is a finite, and you just said this, Pamela. That's so interesting. You said something like this a second ago. There is a finite quality to this, though. Like there is a finishing point. There is something, but even then, what they're trying to say is what's coming through is that we are going to continue to create beyond what we think is the finite point regardless, and we can just calm down about it and jump on the ride and get into our full composure, like get into our full ability to create and enter our hearts as quickly as possible and stay there. It's going to make the ride easier, not just for us, but for everyone. We don't know the power of our intention in creation at all. Like we really don't. We think we have an idea. Wow. Whew, they're trying to bring more light language through, but yeah, they're going to keep
if you
going.
want. You're welcome.
Yeah, there's a lot. Makatina sata usha katina sata ish matina kata osna totina kate metishana tatosno koto yana tiasana kaden matina kato no tiana tasema shakatina tasana katina takatosho makatina sata kenetia tasana katina tototoshi. Hamentiana sata kesha makatina sata toto. There's a big heart field clearing happening right now. I don't know if you guys feel that, but something just opened up, like big opened up.
I felt it too. In fact, a few people in the audience were just talking about it, so I don't remember where it was at. Thank you.
Whew.
Who are you channeling? Someone just asked.
The Arcturians, the Arcturian Council. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing this with us.
Whew, thank you for having me.
Of course. Anytime. Whew. I'm really happy you're able to come again. I was, for a little while there, you weren't able to.
Yeah, through this move was spontaneous. I knew it was going to happen at some point, but at a certain point, something happened. And when it's like a domino effect, it's like you get to a last point where it's like, listen, you are about to shift. This other thing isn't moving. It's coming. In fact, it's moving in an opposite direction, and you will be in harm's way at this point. You've got to go.
Right.
And so I just had to make it happen. You know what I mean? And I don't know how I did this. I'm just going to be honest with you. This is a miracle. And that's what we're full of miracles.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're full of miracles. So, whew, yeah.
There's a lot. I don't know if you're reading these comments, but people are really enjoying that. That was really a fascinating. I felt it in my heart. Yes, I felt it. Wow, I'm speechless. Felt the clearing in my chest and throat. Your Tony is amazing. How have huge crow walking in front of me for the last 5 minutes or so.
Oh, a crow. Yeah. Hey, Sherry Kitchen. I thought I saw.
Oh, sorry. Go back to Sherry.
No, you're fine. I can see it on the right too. You're okay. But Beach Wave. Some people I don't know. I haven't met Beach Wave. Amanda, Amy St. Michael looks really familiar to me. Probably because I'm in the chat sometimes. Hi, Amy. Yeah, I mean, everything happens for a reason, and some of you call these things forth, and more would come, but I feel like we would be here till about 7. Like they weren't going, they were still they were still so I thought I better try to like put some of this in an English speaking or a human language anyway. But yeah. Well, I tell you. Let's see, Beach Wave, heart brain coherence. Oh,
I didn't mean to do that. I was trying to glad right. I didn't realize I still had it already. There we go.
That's okay. Heart brain coherence has been going around the field last few days. Yes. Oh my goodness. It's catching on like in the field. You know, it catches on consciously first, mentally, right? People start to, but it's being like integrated so much more. I can feel it despite all of the mess. And that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Exactly.
But it's two-tone. That's what just came. It's like it's coming through and it's being integrated, but just give it a chance, give it stages, right. Because you know you're going to come in and out. Remember, the pendulum is swinging, and so the more balanced you can be, in terms of not what emotion you feel, but where you focus. How do you, through what filter or through what field do you focus that emotion? Because think of it coming, like you can think of it, that's why they said filter. You can think of it coming through a filter where something gets cleaned, right?
Yes.
And so, yeah, it's still going to hold some of the memory, or not the memory, some of the frequencies, but not the memory that recalls the situation back. And the situation, that's the field that holds the stuff that's going to hold you down. So that's like a complicated way to say that, but
Yeah, that makes sense.
okay.
The goo of the universe is what it's the word I choose to use. It's there's this light arc that connects every single one of us. And not just you and you and you and you and everybody that's listening right now, but everybody. And it's
Everybody.
this cool arc. It looks almost a little bit like this kind of a glow, and then even really bright, like one of these balls behind me. Like it just depends on the intention of the individual. Every one of you are powerful and can glow this brightly, and often do. It just, we diminish yourself, low self-worth, all this fear stuff. That's programming that draws you away from the heart. And so when you speak kindly to yourself and all that, that's when you glow like this. And we're connected as one all the time. So what you were talking about, that was the message I kept being shown to remind everybody, is that we're all doing this. We're all
Yes.
feeding one another and from this universal cosmic love. And
Yeah.
it's just about consent. Do you choose to participate?
Yeah.
Right? I don't know if that made sense.
Oh,
I
oh,
hope I
you know
didn't
what that
change
makes
the
me
subject. What was that?
say that again. I'm sorry.
I
Say
said, I
that
hope I
again.
didn't change the subject. I was
No,
okay.
no. In fact, I was gonna come in and be like, I hope I'm not changing the subject again, because something in true form just popped up, and I know we probably have to go. Like, I'll probably have to cut this a little bit short.
Well, this is
But
moving
there's
on.
a there's another big rolling through now of people balancing their what we call dark and light, and this whole definition of that. And it was really good how you touched on, it's okay to say no, it's okay to stand in your authority. That touches on that, because look, think about the pendulum here. you know People, listen, I'm going to say something that might be controversial. It needs to be said, and it's not coming from me that it needs to be said. I don't want to have to say it. I'd rather, go eat some pancakes. All right. Like, listen. But apparently we're going to talk about this. Okay. But, yeah, the embracing of the dark, which is extremely important. Yes, it is needed. But where we're going, get it together, Gemini, ADHD. Where we're going is going to have dark and light, but it is going to look different. It's not going to look like a denser dark and light. It won't be as far apart. It won't be as much of that type of a Hollywood movie. Everyone doesn't love that. It's fine. What is really dark is still really beautiful. Even at its darkest, it's really beautiful and can completely be healed. Healed doesn't mean it's going to look necessarily like we think healed looks like, or what is beauty. It's beauty in its own. And it's when we understand that everything begins to make sense.
Yeah.
So the embracing of the dark as an excuse to act out like an ass, as you so wonderfully put it earlier, that's not embracing the dark. That's not what that means. That's not integrating your dark and your light. It's loving
Right.
them both and seeing the beauty in all of it and bringing it through the heart consciousness that will expand. The other will not expand. That's
Right.
what people don't understand. They're like, I'm just going to live in this because I have permission. Well, all right, well, stay over there with that then. That's where you're going to be,
Right.
wondering why you're still in this misery. Be the beauty that you are and embrace that dark, but that also needs to come to balance. Light comes to balance, dark comes to balance. The balance is still where it is. It's still in the middle.
Yeah.
Okay, it's still in the middle. It's, there is such a thing as swinging over here, and you are thinking that you're light and balanced, but you aren't able to embrace what's completely on the other side of the pole and see it as beautiful, or understand that it can be healed, or even deserves it. All of a sudden, everything's not worthy of being healed. All of a sudden, it's not worthy because it feels this way, or it's done something to you, or it's negative, and all of that. And yes, that's a lot to work through. I'm not making light of, trauma. That is a lot to work through. And believe me, I know. However, that for you to embrace that brings everything to the middle.
Yeah.
I hope I'm making sense. Embrace this. We're balanced in the middle. And then it's like this ball of everything. You have the tools that you need over here when you need them, and you have the tools over here. You have everything. It's balanced. That's the point. So, yeah, to a higher, the word higher is tricky, a more expanded being who already has been through this part of their evolution, their race, their species, whatever, okay, has been through this. It's difficult to see us, almost get there. But, time is different for them depending on where they are anyway. It's different for all of them, but depending on where they are, it's really different, okay? Time is so different. In fact, a lot of this is really going to be like the blink of an eye to some of these beings, and we're like, it's so long, it's taking so long, and they're like, no, and they blink and you're done, seriously. And so, and that's also us from higher perspective as well. So we will be
Yep.
okay. But yeah, until we reach through that heart consciousness, it's going to be a limbo.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess it
Definitely.
all comes back to that, doesn't it? It just, here we are. We circled right on back around.
The limbo. Yeah. Which
Yeah.
is cleared. It's emptied. It's been open. Like what it looked like to me was a we use the word explosion as a means of violence, and that's not what I mean when I use the word. It was an
Oh,
explosion of light.
yeah.
It
Yeah.
was like and like
Yeah.
some individuals who were in the gray room, this place, this limbo place, chose to then now reside on what we would call old earth, and the others were happily released and able then to move on
Yeah.
to their higher frequency selves. And um this is, it feels, everything happens in threes, and there's something really true about that, and I feel like this was one of the three waves of that. And so some of us will feel it when they come in, when they're released like that, feel it as a density or a sudden anxiety, and then it goes away. Don't lean into it. Like, lean into it,
Yeah.
but don't own it. That's what I meant.
Ah,
Don't,
yeah.
I mean, you don't have to
Yeah.
feel it like you end up being crippled by it. It's not
Yeah.
yours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the way you said that. Lean into it or feel into it, but don't own it. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not meant for us to hold on to. Oh my gosh, we can go on forever, but we both got to
Yeah.
go. I'm out of orange juice. That's the
Well,
signal of the end of.
I still have water, but it's only because I know it's going to send me right to the bathroom way too soon. So I was kind of like, I slowed my sips down. Hey, listen, a woman of a certain age over here, you know what I mean? I'm going to start crossing my legs.
Oh man, yeah, I have a lot of notes that I was gonna say, but we definitely have so much fun. I hope that you come on again.
Yeah, I gotta do it every year. I'm like with you. I'm like, we gotta do this more often, and then something happens. So I don't want.
Yeah.
But I think I'm staying put at least for the foreseeable future. And things have certainly calmed down.
Yes.
So hey, listen. Hopefully sooner than later again, if you'll have me.
Oh, definitely. Always. You're always invited. That would be fun. I look forward to that. And just a
Thank.
quick reminder for those of you in the audience, that in the next in 35 minutes, Josie is doing her free readings. If you didn't see that, I can quickly put it up again if I can find my comment. I love how many comments, how much of you are engaging today. Here it is. This is how to get to her Patreon. This will take you to something that else that she's doing on Saturday. If this doesn't work for you to find today's thing that she's doing. You can find that. She put it in the general section of our Telegram group. Um, and the Telegram group link is in the description of this video. I'll go back after in a minute and put it in the comments if you can't see it from the live comments. And that's going to be they're not general. That's like reading specific for you, and it's free. So, anyway, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you. And thank you to everybody who came and listened, and I felt your energy, and you're welcome to those who said thank you. I was like reading, like skimming a little bit too. I think Jen and Amy, Sherry Kitchen, Rose Matter, Jules. So yeah, just you always have such a wonderful crowd of beautiful like souls. So I'm blessed to be here. Thanks again. I can't say thank you enough, so I'll say it again. Thank you again for having me.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you all. And happy Equinox. This is a powerful window of time.
Yes.
Go ahead.
No, I was just saying, yeah, happy Equinox. I almost forgot that's like that was the main point we're supposed to be talking about. But boy, we went everywhere, didn't we?
We had whatever was supposed to come forward did, and we are looking forward to the likelihood of solar energy impact in the next couple of hours, if not earlier. So geomagnetic storms possible. Go into a place of meditation. If you don't have I posted a equinox meditation in our Telegram group, by the way, if anyone's interested in that. That's free. So thank you once again. I'm gonna go get some more orange juice. Thank you. Bye.